Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as the.
And welcome to this Monday edition of Pucks Across Borders, your NHL daily betting preview show. We got betting to talk about, games that happened over the weekend, and trades. Trades. You think Luka is the only trade that's going on in sports right now? No way. Trades all around, especially in the NHL this weekend. We can't sit here and lie and say they're at the magnitude of what that Luka trade was on Friday night. That was wild. Or Saturday night. Friday or Saturday? Friday.
No,
Saturday. Yes, it was Saturday. It was Saturday because earlier in the day, the Dallas Stars made this massive trade that was just awesome. And just not massive, but it was a really good thing. Really good deal for the Stars. We'll get into some of this. Less than 24 hours later, there's a full-blown funeral going on in front of American Airlines Center. Coffins and flowers and Luka jerseys, and a lot of the vandalism was extremely disrespectful, but just the craziest thing covering the Dallas Stars. Now, I'm not in Dallas. I wish I was, but covering that team and just following Dallas sports coverage and just the contrast between Dallas and the rest of Dallas-Fort Worth, like the Dallas Stars and the rest of DFW, as they call it, sports scene there was just super, super fascinating. But we'll get into all of that. Before we do, as always, Andre, happy Monday, man. Good to see you. It's not the start of a bad week. It's the new beginnings, a new chance to get after it. Am I right? Happy Monday.
Absolutely. Happy Monday. New week, new month, new beginnings. Joe, in the comments, we love you, man. Shout out to you. Make sure to check them out every single day. 6 o'clock, do their NBA show late too. Curious Sports Pulse Media. Absolutely hilarious over there. They will be talking about the Luka trade, I'm sure, and it will make you laugh. But I personally, I'm doing fantastic. I hope everyone watching is as well. And Mark, well, you're always doing fantastic. Look as good as you feel, right?
I try, man. I try. It's funny because I'm on the show with Joe and the boys tomorrow night to every Tuesday. I'm really excited to being back on. And if you're continuing to watch, Joe, or if Gabe is watching, my apologies for not responding to your message earlier. I know we're live, but I just realized I completely forgot to message him back. That's okay. That's okay. It's like when you message somebody and they don't respond, but then like they send you like a TikTok and you're like, hey, dude, like I just texted. My wife does this to me all the time. Like, it's so frustrating, but that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah, dude, lots to get to, and it's really funny, man. Like, I know this isn't the NHL, and we got a game in an hour, so we won't dwell too long on this, but to get into my personal life, I'm in between like moves right now, waiting for our like new apartment to get ready. So I'm at my in-laws for a few weeks, and my father-in-law, my brother-in-law are major basketball heads. My father-in-law watches ball from 7 p.m. to midnight every single night. And when that Luka trade, they were calling me out, man. Like, oh, Joe, 100%. Mark, if you had any idea how many texts I answer with my brain, I 100%. You read it, you're just like, okay, yeah, 10-4, Roger. And you just never respond. I've 100%. But, yeah, they were like, no way, like there's no way, like whoever you're following is like lying, like you're falling into the Twitter trap. I'm like, it's ESPN. Like I'm literally like, this is ESPN. What are you saying? Crazy, man, crazy. But anyway, I digress. Yesterday in the NHL, a lot of games for a Sunday, 9 games, if my memory serves correct. The Sabres tried to lose that game against New Jersey yesterday. They tried so hard, up 3-0, hold on for a 4-3 win. Avalanche beat the Flyers 2-0. Straight up, I haven't checked this out for myself, but according to a radio show I was listening today, is it true the Flyers haven't scored in like 3 games? Is that true? Like,
I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I feel like every time I've seen them, it's their name. So
yeah, dude, that's tough out there. They made a trade we briefly talked about. What's that?
it has been a full 3 games.
Oh my goodness. The Canadians up 2-0, couldn't close it out, lose against the Ducks 3-2. Panthers beat the Islanders 6-3. Your Rangers with a very good game, very impressive win against the Golden Knights 4-2. Not gonna lie, going into the third, Vegas up 2-1. I expected the Rangers to fold, but they figured it out and got the job done. Huge win for them. The Dallas Stars beat the Blue Jackets 5-3 in what was a very, very fun hockey game. Like really, really good hockey game. You can check out my 3 takeaways on the hockey game at thehockeywriters.com. Little free plug, no big deal. The St. Louis Blues beat the Hockey Club 2-1. Red Wings beat the Canucks 3-2 in overtime, and the Flames, another team up 3-0, and hold on for the 3-2 win. We can talk about the games of yesterday or from the weekend in a little bit, if we so desire, but let's get into some of these trades over the weekend, man, because a lot happened, and it's so funny, dude. Like Friday night, the JT Miller trade literally broke when we were on air. Like we were literally talking and the trade broke. And all of Twitter is just like, yes, give us more Friday night, 7:00 trades. And all of my coworkers at the Hockey Writers were like, can we protest against this Friday night trade? Like, what is going on here? We're trying to have dinner with our families on a Friday night, and and obviously, like me, I'm small fish. You can only imagine. I think Elliot Friedman was describing it the same way. Like Elliot Friedman, who's like the creme de la creme, and he's out to dinner with his family, and he had to go away on a phone call. And some bartender recognized him and was like, hey, man, are you breaking a trade? What's going on? JT Miller? And he's just like, so anyway, so just revisit it. JT Miller, Eric Brandstrom, and Jackson Dorrington to Vancouver to New York, rather, for Philip Hurdle, Victor Mancini, and a conditional 2025 first round pick. It is top 13 protected. If the pick falls in that range, then the Canucks will receive the 2026 first round pick. And then a couple hours later, Vincent Desharnais, Danton Heinen, Melvin Fernstorm, and a conditional 2025 first round pick go to Pittsburgh for Drew O'Connor and Marcus Pettersson. And it was literally the exact same first round pick that they got from the Rangers. They just sent to Pittsburgh for Marcus Pettersson, Drew O'Connor. Before we move on to the next trade that happened about 12 hours later, what are your thoughts on those 2 moves? We already kind of talked about it Friday night, but we can kind of rehash it a little bit. What are your thoughts on those 2 trades specifically? I know there's a lot to kind of pick apart there.
I feel like we're seeing from Vancouver, they're trying to make the most out of a sticky situation. I mean, between obviously getting rid of one problem child, quickly pivoting to turn that into something else. So I guess, maneuverability, it's a plus from them. You always like that. They're being active when they really need to be. Uh, it feels like Pedersen is going to be on his way out the door too. Not obviously they just got Marcus and not that one. I'm talking about Elias, but that's one step at a time here. I think, this has been a lost season. That's what we've described it in British Columbia, and it's only February. There's still time to right the ship. They're still in the playoff hunt. Uh, they're going to get this thing right, or at least they're trying to. And like we like to say, you can't really fault effort. Um, so kudos to them. Obviously, those two moves. I know there's at least one more you want to talk about, maybe two. They were both involved in. For the Rangers, um, try to spark something. They said, and when they acquired Miller, what they say, it's not just a now move. It's part of the long-term plan. It's part of the future plans. And I understand he's under contract for a few more years. Supremely talented player. He's already made an impact on the ice for this team, very noticeably. I do find it kind of ironic, though, that he was a big part of the future a decade ago when we had just come off a Stanley Cup appearance and we're on our way to winning the President's Trophy. And now, 10 years later, it's pretty much the same thing, except I don't know. I find it very funny and kind of ironic that he has to be the savior a decade later. I will say, though, if he's going to play like he has been so far for the next 4 years, it's kind of a home run move. I know Philip Hedl, huge favorite in this household in particular, maybe I guess Rangers fandom in general. Already scored with Vancouver, the kind of guy he is, but not going to reach the highs of JT Miller, who is, besides just a dynamic playmaker, a champion. So obviously a lot of time left for that move and that team. They're another one in a quote-unquote lost season. They've made plenty of moves already this year.
Mm-hmm.
But again, effort, they're trying. They have kind of rejuvenated, remolded that locker room on the fly. It's completely different from what it was in mid-December even. So I think that's a good move. I think that was a good move for both teams, genuinely. Maybe you could say Vancouver deserved more, but they were also dealing with someone who they needed to get rid of, and everybody knew it. So they got what they got, and they got a guy who's already scored for them. So kudos to them. As far as Pittsburgh, we know the deal with Pittsburgh. They got a draft pick. That's what matters.
Yeah.
They can try to say, we're going to piece this thing together, add some reinforcements, try to make that playoff run, cup run for the old timers, but we know the deal. That's pretty obvious now.
Yeah. It's I'll just comment on this quickly. It's the last thing you talked about. The Pittsburgh part of this deal just brings up an unnecessary conversation because it's never going to happen. As a hockey fan, I just hate this for Sidney. I hate it for Crosby, man. And I know you're a Rangers fan, blah, blah, blah. But as a hockey fan, I just want Sidney Crosby in the playoffs, man. I just hate it so much. It bothers me that he re-signed there. I hate it that he's probably not going to get traded. And you know what? It doesn't matter. If he wants to be in Pittsburgh for the rest of his career, he got the 3 cups. Maybe it doesn't matter to him. I find that hard to believe. But it bothers me, and I'm not going to bring it up any further because it's irrelevant at this point. If he doesn't want to go, he's not leaving, and I'm just a talking head somewhere in a bedroom. It doesn't matter what I think. I just hate it as a hockey fan. I want to see Crosby compete at the highest level, and it's really frustrating. For the other parts of this deal, listen, man, for the Rangers, this isn't Nashville, right? Nashville, you can use the excuse of, and I don't know if it's a good one or not, but for Nashville, you can use the excuse you changed up a lot of things, a lot of moving parts. You brought in 3 really, really big, or I guess, really good pieces in Stamkos, Marchessault, and Brady Shea. So maybe it was just too many changes. Lost year, next year, bring the band back together and like you'll be better off. Maybe that's true. But for the Rangers, this is like almost the exact same team. And like the pieces that you lost, like I'm not saying that they weren't significant, but they shouldn't have been this significant. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Goudreau's a good player, but come on, like this shouldn't be like this. So to me, you add JT Miller, you don't lose anybody. I mean, yes, Hurdle is a big piece, but let's just be truthful. He's always hurt. Like the guy can't stay healthy like long enough to really make a positive, you know, impact, right? So you bring somebody in who you know is going to play every single night, and it just puts the ball back in the player's court. Like, okay, here you go. You know, I don't know if they're necessarily done or whatever the deal is, but I think ultimately it's a good move for the Rangers. Shout out, by the way, Jonathan Quick getting his 400th win last night. Is it just me, or was he stuck on $3.99 for like 2 months? I feel like we talked about this like forever ago, before Christmas. It feels.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. It feels honestly, like it was Thanksgiving.
It actually does, legitimately.
Yeah, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but also it does feel like it was that long ago. Like the guy, because especially Shesterkin got hurt. He was playing a lot more, and it coincided with the team absolutely cratering. So,
yeah. Well, I was saying at least Christmas time, and Thanksgiving is only a month before Christmas, so it wouldn't be that.
I don't think he won a game in December. So I'm saying we probably were talking about it at Christmas time because we were like, he hasn't won in a month. Like he has to win it.
So there you go, right? But honestly, good for him. Really, really good career. I know he broke your heart all those years ago, but really, really solid career. Hall of Famer for sure. And 400 wins is just another feather in the cap. Listen, talking about the Vancouver side of this, on both sides of the trade, I think you had to do something, obviously. This has been brewing for so long, and I can talk about the on-ice implications. You can talk about all that stuff. Ultimately, this has been the center focus of media, specifically Canadian media, and I don't know about American media, but in Canadian media, this is all anyone's been talking about. You just had to do something. Like end this noise. Stop it. Like, let's just get this over with. I think if Pettersson gets traded, I still stand by this. I think it's a mistake. I know he's not playing very well right now. I know he's an expensive ticket, but he's like, what, 25 years old, 26 years old, maybe younger. This is not abnormal for players to go. Although this stretch is going on a year now almost, so I understand the frustration, but I do think it would be a mistake to let him go. The biggest reason why I would love to see Elias Pettersson go is because there's 3 Petterssons on this team now. 3. Like, it's just confusing, and 2 of them are defensemen. And I'm pretty sure the other one is Elias Pettersson as well. Is he not? I'm pretty sure the other defenseman is. You have the Elias Pettersson that we all know and love. You have Marcus Pettersson or Peterson. He's pronounced Peterson, I'm pretty sure. And I'm pretty sure the other defenseman is Elias as well. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah. No, you're
super annoying. Like, trade one of them, get one of them out of there. That's too many. That's too many Peter Petterssons on one. Yeah, I know, it's really weird. But anyway, I digress. Almost as weird as, what's that guy's name? Who did he play for? Vegas? Ivan. Ivan. But anyway, for Vancouver, I don't know. I mean, Marcus Pettersson or Peterson, it's hard to really know. He's a highly touted defenseman, really valuable in the fantasy world, like gets you a lot of assists. But in like the real world, he's been on a below average Penguins team for so long, it's hard to really know what they're getting in him. Everyone in Vancouver media seems to be really happy with the deal. A lot of people in Vancouver media think it's a bad trade if they don't sign him long term. Like if he's not signed long term, then it's like, what did we trade? What did we do this for? So that'll be interesting to see moving forward. Other than that, like Hurdle, I think it's a good haul if he's healthy. Like I think if he can stay healthy, like you said, man, everybody loves this kid. Everyone thinks he's a great player. He's just having a hard time staying on the ice. So if he can stay healthy, then I feel like it's the best you're gonna do, especially with a guy like Miller who had, like everybody, a no trade clause, or a 9-team no trade, or whatever the thing was. Also, side note, I found it hilarious. Hockey Twitter on Saturday talking about how, like, let me get this straight. Luka and AD don't have no trade clauses, but my fourth line winger does. Like, how does this work? How does this work? Like, every NHL player has a no trade clause, but Luka and AD didn't. How does that work out? I thought that was hilarious, but yeah, it's really funny.
People like Jacob Trouba fighting for his life and going to war with the biggest market in the league, and then you just have, a generational superstar shift out of town.
I know. The NHL is so ridiculous, man. It bothers me so much. But and listen, Toronto, we know a thing or two about no move clauses. Believe me, everyone on our roster has one. Thank you, Kyle Dubas, for that. We miss you. So, yeah, anyway, for Vancouver, I don't know how much it really moves the needle. Really, all they're hoping is that you have a big personality out of the locker room, and that just brings the boys together. I don't really know. Awful timing. I mean, I guess it's okay timing since they have Marcus Peterson now, but Quinn Hughes has been battling something for a couple weeks. He missed yesterday's game. If he's out of the lineup, you can just forget about it. That guy is so valuable to that team. You can just kiss the season goodbye if he's not on the roster. Like I saw yesterday, I was watching the game last night, and I can't remember who it was at the blue line trying to do a Quinn Hughes spinorama along the boards and coughed up the puck for a 2-on-1. Like you can't listen, man. Stay in your lane, bro. Like that's not you. All right, moving on. In the early afternoon on Saturday, the Dallas trade that everybody was talking about on Sunday morning. Cody Ceci and Mikael Granlund to Dallas from San Jose for a 2025 first round pick and a conditional 2025 third round pick. If the Stars do not, or if they do not make it to the Stanley Cup final, then the third rounder becomes a fourth rounder. Don't know how much of a difference there is between the third and fourth round, but hey, you do what you got to do. I think it's a great trade for Dallas. I really do. I think Granlund is somebody that can go up and down the lineup. Mason Marchment came back yesterday, which was huge, scored a goal in his return. That was huge. Tyler Seguin, you're not going to get the same production from Granlund as you did from Seguin, but I was writing an article over the weekend about why this trade is a good one. And just kind of going through the numbers, like Granlund's real value is in passing the puck and in like assists. He's on the power play a ton, and he kills penalties. So like he can take faceoffs if you need him to. So which he was a third line center yesterday. So hugely valuable. Moving him up and down the lineup, I think that's huge, and it really does put everybody in Dallas in their proper places on the top six. And so I think it's phenomenal trade. Cody Ceci, the guy played 22 minutes yesterday. We all know Miro Heiskanen is out, and now Nils Lundqvist is out for the season, having season-ending surgery. Cody Ceci is just the guy back there that can give you anywhere between 16 to 22 minutes a night. He's not going to make overly egregious mistakes, and they're not going to put him in that position. I think yesterday he played a lot because all these guys are out with injury right now. But I think when the time matters most, he's on the third pair. He's not going to be your number one. You know what I mean? He's not going to be beside, Miro Heiskanen when he's healthy. I thought it was a good trade. And the beautiful part about this for Dallas is they didn't give up any roster players. So they gave up a first, but they have firsts for the next 2 years that they can either use or trade. They have second and third round picks for the foreseeable future as well. So they have lots of assets and, really good young players like Bork, Stankoven, and another one that my mind is blanking on. You didn't give them up, which is good. And I think they want to keep them if at all possible. However, if some blockbuster deal comes along and you got to throw one of those guys in, you can do that now. So I thought it was a really good move for Dallas. What say you?
I'm going to actually open this up. I'm going to start by saying I think I love the Sharks GM. I'm going to ignore where they are in the standings. But again, in the preseason, I was a fan of some of their moves. I'm a huge fan of this move. Obviously, they got Granlund from Pittsburgh after he was a disaster, to say the least. He was pretty much a salary dump. They absorbed a first to get him and rehabbed his image, and now he's gone for a first. CC was also a salary dump when they acquired him, and again, they're getting a first back for him. So rebuilding team, making good moves. Didn't retain any salary in this deal in particular. They're doing what they got to do. I got to say, I know the record's not there, the results aren't there, but I've really loved San Jose's process the past year and change, at least when it comes to the front office. Hopefully the results follow soon. For Dallas, I like the Granlund side of things. Obviously, he was producing with the Sharks. What's he going to do in Dallas? Probably going to be a lot of the same things. Like you said, he's a passer. He's a playmaker. He's a guy that can score. He's a guy that can penalty kill. I think he's going to add to that forward group. And that's not even a forward group that needed that much. That didn't need really adding. They're already a solid bunch. They already have a little bit of everything. And the rich got richer. So I really like that for them. I think he's going to fit in very nicely, whatever role they have him in. And that was the main acquisition for Dallas. I understand that Heiskanen's out. They needed a defenseman to fill the gaps, and CC is going to be there. I'm not sure if I'm in love with that. I don't know, something about CC's game. I know it's probably a short-term Band-Aid, so I'm probably thinking too much into this, but part of me just wonders if they could have given up less, not taken on CC, and just roll the dice with whatever was there, because this doesn't, at least to me, and I could be completely wrong, this doesn't feel like a move his addition doesn't feel like a move that's going to help him, and it feels like a move that if he's playing at its worst.
Yeah, that's fair. I think like reading like reports from people who, follow the team daily at the rink, it feels like basically what this was they have, guys like Bichel, who is a really good young defenseman. He's been up and down, will probably stay up when the playoffs come, but might not play every night. Other than that, they have like 3 defensemen that's going up and down the like minors, like yo-yo. And I think this is just like, you know what? Let's stop bringing these kids up and down. Let's just leave them down there and bring in somebody who at least has been in the NHL for a long time, played in the playoffs, I think 88 career playoff games. The guy's been in the league a lot longer than I thought. Like the name Cody Ceci, I think I saw yesterday he's played like 840 games or something like that. It's like, holy cow, he's been in the league for that long. So it's not like, going to take your breath away, but I do think the other part of this too was I think defensemen are going to be an extremely hot commodity by the time the trade deadline comes around. And I think this was, GM Jim Nill just being like, okay, what's the cheapest defenseman that I can get for as little as possible without having to overpay in a couple weeks? And so from that side of it, that makes sense to me. You're good?
Sorry, I was muted. No, I think that's a really good take. Didn't think about it in terms of the rest of the market and how that's going to increase. And obviously, with the injury they needed, if they were going to add sooner better than later, is a lot more beneficial for this team. Just between, the standings, if let's say they want to catch the Jets, they probably in that locker room think they can catch the Jets. So between that, fending off the Wild and or Avalanche for potential home ice in the first round, just in general, just for the standings, home ice will be very important for that team this spring. So I guess if you're going to add to fill that hole temporarily, doing it as soon as possible, aka this move.
Yeah, absolutely. Jog my memory here, Andre. Did the Farabee Frost to Philly, did we talk about that on Friday? Or did that happen in the evening? We did talk about that trade, right?
We go with that.
Pardon me? We did. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I still like it today, so that's good. My thoughts on it haven't changed at all. So, Andre, you and I were talking pre-show, and again, puck drop is in 30 minutes, so we will get to that game here shortly and give you our betting preview for you FanDuel users out there. Tonight is Hockey on Prime up here in Canada, and there's a 50% same game parlay boost. So whatever we tell you, actually, I'm not going to take that responsibility. Use it on whatever you want, and if you want to ride, if you want to tail. But anyway, we were talking pre-show, and you had a fun idea, and I forget how you worded it, so I'm going to throw it into your corner. What did that Luka AD trade make you think about in NHL terms over the weekend?
Well, everyone's like, all these non-NBA fans are like, explain this.
Yeah.
This. What does this mean in 90s pop culture, whatever? So I was wondering two things. One, what is your NHL rendition of this trade? And two, I feel like what I'm about to say should probably go first. It'll help inform the first thing I asked. Who are the NHL untouchables? We saw a guy in a different league that pretty much everyone thought was untouchable. Just for context, for people that don't know, Luka Doncic is 25 perennial MVP candidate. Just dragged the team to the finals.
Would you say top 5 player in the NBA? Top 3 when he's right? He's up there.
He's capable of being one at his very best. I just to be sad boy for a little bit as a Knicks fan, I watched this guy 60-point triple-double drag the Mavericks to a win over the Knicks. So he can absolutely be the best player in the league at his best. And again, 25. So it's a guy you can have control over. Not control, he's a human being, free will, all that. But this is a guy you can have under contract for the rest of his career. You could have 10 years of Hall of Fame play. So I say all that to say, who would you consider the NHL untouchables? And now that we know a top 5 player is touchable, now that we know Myles Garrett's asking out, Juan Soto's been traded twice already. Mikko Rantanen just got traded. And this doesn't even pale in comparison to this. Mikko Rantanen's a top 10 player. So who are the untouchables in the NHL? And why is it Ryan?
Well, yeah, for many reasons, it's Ryan Reeves. One is that, nobody wants him probably, but so a couple things. Number one, describe this in like 90s terms or whatever. I saw one tweet that was like my girlfriend is asking me about like what, or I think it was like Vic Blends. He like posted this video and was like, hey, like my girl has no idea what just happened. Can you explain it in a way she'd understand? And I can't remember the specifics, but it was like Destiny's Child just traded Beyonce for somebody in TLC.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, truly TLC. That one killed me. I thought that was so funny. But yeah, dude, I mean, yeah, if you asked me 3 weeks ago if Mikko Rantanen was untouchable, I would have probably said yeah, right? I would have probably said yes. So I don't know. Like, I mean, we've been having this conversation for the last 18 months about Mitch Marner. Like we've been talking about this, probably 18 months. That's probably exaggerating, but we've been having that conversation up here about Mitch Marner. Like, do you trade him? No, you can't trade him. You got to trade him. Like, just all this stuff. And there's like one talking head up here who's always just like, why can't you trade him? Why not? Like, why not? You can do whatever you want. Trade him. Who cares? Dude, I don't know. Like, Connor McDavid, right? Like Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon. I think on the defensive side of things, I do think Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes would be untouchable. And I think I haven't thought about this long, literally since you asked me the question 60 seconds ago. I have not thought about this at all. So maybe I'll disagree with myself tomorrow. I have no idea. But I think Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar are more untouchable than Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon, because not that those two guys grow on trees, but to have guys like that on defense, I think is even more rare, And so I would probably put those two guys up there. I don't know. Like I was thinking about this with in like my context with like Austin Matthews. Would you put him up there? He can score a bunch of goals. He's one of the best two-way centers in the NHL. He's been hurt for most of this year. I mean, he's going to finish the season with a measly 44 goals. Awful. It is pathetic. But I don't know. Like, that's a great question. I would honestly, as of right now, and like I said, maybe by tomorrow, I'll completely disagree with what I'm about to say. But I feel like defensemen like Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes are probably at the top of the untouchable list. And not that, like I said, not that McDavid grows on trees, which is a weird thing to picture in your head. But I don't know. That's just right off the bat. That's what I feel about it. But in NHL terms, what would that trade have been? Because AD, like for those of you who don't follow basketball, like AD is still a really good player. Like he averages 25 points, gets just under 12 rebounds. Like the guy's still a really great defender, one of the best in the NBA. Like he's still really good. And I know that Luka's conditioning, that might have been, you know what, dude, maybe funnier than the explain this in 90s terms or whatever. Maybe funnier is like videos making fun of Luka's conditioning. Like, no disrespect to James Corden. I think that guy's hilarious. I love him. But I saw this one like Lakers new point guard, and it was James Corden photoshopped into a Lakers jersey, and I was like, yo, that's funny. Like some of those were really funny. And again, no disrespect to James Corden. I love the guy, but I think he's great and I miss his show. But I just thought some of that was really funny too, making fun of his conditioning. But AD, like literally AD's nickname is street clothes, right? So it's like, anyway, I don't want to get too deep into that, but like, what would be the NHL like version of this trade? I don't even know. Like McDavid for, or let's say like, is it Rantanen for Nikish? Did the exact same thing just happen in the NHL? Is that what this is?
I don't know if Nick is a future Hall of Famer. I think that's the problem here. I will start off by saying I agree with you pretty much on the untouchables. I had I had McCarr 1. I had Hughes 2, Quinn Hughes, that is. I had McDavid 3, but I could see a world where McDavid traded, honestly.
The exact same franchise, obviously different people were involved. The exact same franchise traded Wayne Gretzky. And that was one thing that really bothered me about about the like basketball coverage of all this, because I'm just a butthurt hockey fan who's like, no one ever can. Like they're talking about like LeBron and Bronny, the first ever father-son. It's like the Hows did this in the 70s. Like in hockey, this is old news. Like you guys suck compared to what we got going on over here. And then you're talking about like the only time in history, and it's like this happened to Wayne Gretzky in the 80s. Nobody wants to talk about the NHL, bro. We're trailblazers over here.
Hey, no knocking it. I do think, I feel like in MLB there was like some 1890s father-son duo that absolutely just tore up the league for like 5 years, though. It seems like a very MLB
probably
thing.
Yeah,
it's probably like nicknames like General Hog and then his son Lieutenant Bacon.
This might not be the same, but I think it's kind of close. Like you take your pick, like Nathan McKinnon or Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon or Connor McDavid for Sidney Crosby. Because it's like, and I have a lot more respect for Crosby than I do for AD. I want to make that clear. But it's kind of like that, where you're going to have Sidney Crosby like for what? 2, 3, 4. Like this guy might play forever. I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like you're not like, if you trade for McKinnon or McDavid, you're going to have them for the next 10 years. Where Sidney Crosby is at the end of his career, or Ovechkin is a better example. Ovechkin's a better example because Ovechkin, that guy, I swear to God, if he gets the record next year, he will never look at another pair of skates again in his entire life. Like as soon, if it's the beginning of next season and he passes Gretzky, he's done. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's better. McDavid for Ovechkin. Would you do it?
Oh, 100%. One guy scored more.
Yeah, anyway. Right. Yeah.
I was trying to, when I was trying to do this, I was trying to keep the parallels to, like trying to shift them to a bigger market or the biggest market, try to keep it in conference, try to focus. The Mavericks said that defense wins championships. That was the focus with this move. Try to focus on that. Maybe it was really hard. Setting parameters that just completely disregarded how talented the player I was giving up was. The best I could come up with was like Matthew Tkachuk for Victor Hedman. Same conference, pseudo rivalry, team that recently won a championship versus team that was recently in it. Granted, the Panthers won. Defense focus, blah blah blah. But I feel like respectfully, it's not a good comparison in terms of where they are in the league right now. I tried something like Makar for Panarin. Just gifting a golden franchise poster child and send him up, and older guy. Like, yes, he's still really good, future Hall of Famer, but obviously not franchise cornerstone superstar. Which, I mean, that feels a little disrespectful to say about Panarin, but I feel like that was kind of a similar thing. But also, it wasn't same conference. They were just like, it doesn't fit all the parameters. Like, it was making the Rangers defense better and Avs defense worse and blah, blah, blah. Which leads me to say, you can think about a lot of ridiculous trades involving some of these superstars. Maybe you send Jack Hughes for Roman Yossi. I don't think any of them get as crazy.
No,
as this,
see,
genuinely.
the thing about this trade that bothered me so much, and I think that was a good one you were talking about with like Panarin, because like, or Kachuk for Hedman. Like the Hedman one makes a lot of sense because, and I'm not, obviously you're not going to get a 1-for-1 comparison of the trade that was made in the NBA, but I think for me, what I keep going back to, and like I said, I live in a basketball house right now for the time being, and it's literally the only conversation that's going on. It's all that's been talked about for the last 2 days, and my brother-in-law thinks one thing and my father-in-law thinks a different thing, and it's just constant yelling at each other in loving, not important ways. If the Mavericks don't win a championship before AD leaves or retires, or Kyrie leaves or retires, it's a failure. But even if they do win, they're probably only going to win one. Now, I don't think they're even going to do that. But if they do win, they're probably getting one. Like, I don't think this team is like a dynasty in the making, where Luka is going to be torturing Dallas fans for the next decade. Like, so that's where my mind can't really get around that trade. Like, that's why I can't really understand it. And I think in hockey terms, it's like, yeah, what was your example? Kachuk for, I think the player would have to be a little better than Kachuk. No disrespect to Kachuk, but I do understand what you're saying. Hedman's a really, really good defenseman. He is going to be retired in the next like 3, 4, 5 years, probably. So to me, that's a really good. The Hedman comparison, I think, is really good. Like, he could still be a major factor on the defensive end of a contending team, very much so, but he's not going to be around for long. So it's like, what do you kind of take? That's fun.
Yeah. And I just, sanity to me is like, you have concerns about his defense and conditioning or whatever. This is literally an organization that in 2011 won a title because they had a generational scorer, a Hall of Fame scorer from Europe in Dirk Nowitzki, and just built a monster defense around him with, talking about Tyson Chandler and Sean Marion in particular. They had the blueprint because they created the blueprint for how to win with this type of player. He got them to the finals less than a year ago, and he just cast them away. It's so disrespectful. And I know the Brandon trade was shocking and out of nowhere, and that was a bit disrespectful. And we talked about that a lot, and it was just like, what? I don't think it comes close to the level of this. And I don't think it's going to be very hard to top this in any sport.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And I do think it's way different than the Rantanen trade. Like, there's lots of different things, but it feels a little similar. Like, and again, it's way different, but it feels a little bit that way to me. Like Nikish with McKinnon and those play, he's had a great start in Colorado, but he's not even close to the player that Rantanen is historically. And so I do think we kind of saw a like sliver of this, but no, dude, it's insane. But all right. 10 minutes, 12 minutes until puck drop. We will get to the game on the ice tonight. Huge game for the Ottawa Senators over the weekend, keeping their third place in the Atlantic, 1 point up on Detroit, 2 points up on Tampa and Boston, and an even 7 points up on Montreal. So huge game for them and for Nashville. Remember that thing I said about if they do this and they do that? Yeah, they keep losing and they're 16 points back now of a playoff spot. So that is off the table now. So let's move on and get it done. The Ottawa Senators in Nashville. I just can't, like, we talk so much every day, bro. Look at these lines and you tell me what my first thought is about this. It's absolutely asinine. Nashville minus, and this happens with Nashville specifically all the time. Doesn't matter if it's Ottawa. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. This happens with Nashville all of the time. Minus 134 at home. Ottawa plus 112 on the road. Minus 1.5 for Nashville's plus 184. Plus 1.5 for the Senators is minus 230. The over is 5.5 at minus 115, and the under is minus 105. I will have you know that the 50% profit boost for this game on FanDuel is a 4-legger. So we'll see if we can get 4 legs. We'll figure it out. But what do you got? Ottawa, Nashville.
I got 2 very good ones,
Love
very
it.
confident ones coming right off the bat. So in their last 4 games, stop me if you've heard this before, the Nashville Predators have struggled to score.
I thought you were just going to say the Nashville Predators have sucked.
I mean, very much applies too. But 6 total goals in the last 4 games. They got shut out in Pittsburgh to open February. 3 goals the game before that, 1 the game before that, 2 the game before that. Offenses dried up, they're ice cold again. Tim Stützle, in his last 4 games, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. One guy on Ottawa is outscoring Nashville single-handedly in the same time frame. That's pretty much all you need to know about what I'm going to take in this one. I love the Senators' money line here. I'm going to take Stützle's points.
Ooh.
2 plus is plus 250. 1 plus is minus 185. Pick your poison. I'm going to stick with the minus 185 since it's a 4-legger. I don't want to get too aggressive, but yeah, and Nashville, on top of the fact they're not scoring, they've allowed 3+ goals in 6 straight games now. They allowed 3 in Pittsburgh, 4 in Buffalo, 3 against the Canucks, 5 against the freaking Ducks, who averaged the fewest per game. And then the 2 games before that were consecutive against the Sharks and consecutive with 5 goals allowed. It is an absolute disaster down there. There's no reason they should be favored. I'm not sorry. You don't deserve it. You haven't earned it. Ottawa money line, Stützle 1+ point. Those are my 2 favorite bets.
I love it, man. And you know what? Like, this is normally your cup of tea. I typically stay away from these type of bets, but in this one, I'm so confident because Ottawa plus 112 on the money line is a very good odds, and there's no need to get greedy. However, plus 185 on the 60-minute line, I don't think this game is going to be close. Like, I don't. So to me, like, I'm not even worried about overtime at all. The only thing that concerns me in this game is the goaltending matchup, but it hasn't really mattered because Nashville can't score, and Forsberg's actually been pretty good. And so I that does concern me a little bit, but honestly, I have no problem taking the 60-minute money line here. Like, absolutely none. And that's all I have to add. I think you laid it all out perfectly. The other thing I would add, and I thought you were about to mention it, and maybe you did, and I just blacked out, but over 2.5 goals for Ottawa tonight, minus 126 for over 2.5 goals. And I like that one. I like that one a lot. The last thing I will say, just to gloat a little bit, is on FanDuel, Stützle, whatever, is minus 156 or minus 154 for 1+ point. So you're getting a little bit better odds on that one over on FanDuel. But I really like that bet tonight. I can't. Can I do this for real? Is it going to let me do this? I have Ottawa Senators money line and the 60-minute line in the same bet, and it's not telling me I can't do this.
Oh,
Yeah.
lucky you. I can't even. I can't even get the 60-minute line or the over on the team goals.
Oh, really?
In the parlay. So DK's dropping the ball today. You win it.
That's pretty. Actually, wait. No, something's up.
I can bet on time on ice though, which.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. I lied. All right. So where you want to go, bro? Puck drops in 6 minutes. Let's give these good people viewing a parlay. So you can't do. Okay. So you can't do the over 2.5 with the 60-minute line. So we can just stick with the money line then.
Really.
Oh, really?
Either
okay.
So no.
Yeah. They are dropping the ball. So Tim Stützle, 1+ point. I love that one. What do you want to go with? The money line or the 60-minute line? What are you feeling? Yeah.
60-minute line.
I'm right there with you. Now I have the over 2.5 goals because I am superior. What do you think about the total 5.5?
I mean, if we're giving Ottawa 3, right?
Yeah,
at least 3.
That feels good.
It feels like it should be over.
Yeah, that feels good.
Right.
It concerns me based on what you were saying about Nashville's goal scoring, but I like that one. So, I have a 4-leg. What do you want to throw in there as your 4th leg? This is an exclusive FanDuel versus DraftKings parlay today.
This is not much of a versus here. I should just throw in the most expensive thing I can find just to beat you. No, I have the 1+ point that was money line in the over 5.5 at +340. If I were to add,
well, I guess you don't really have to if you don't have the boost, but it's up to you.
I don't, do I? There's probably, I'm not logged in right now. There's probably a boost, but just for fun, I will find something else to do.
All right.
Tell them your odds, and then while I'm browsing.
Sounds good. Tim Stützle, 1+ point, -158. Over 2.5 for Ottawa's total goals, -126. 60-minute money line for Ottawa, +185. And over 5.5 goals is -120. It's +425. And with the 50% boost that I know is for our Canadian viewers, I don't know if it's in the States, +425 turns into +638.
Nice. I like that. Not boosted. I kind of, I'm kind of trusting my gut here. Brady Tkachuk started scoring goals again. Scored last game. He scored against Utah. I guess 2 games before that. The drought's over. I'm going to trust it to keep going. He's +170 to score a goal tonight, and I believe he's going to do so. So I'm going to add that to my parlay. I have now Stützle with 1+ point. The Senators money line, the over 5.5, Tkachuk goal, and that's +650.
Oh, you beat me! All the boost and everything. How did you beat me with that? I have a boost. I thought for sure. It's awful.
Hey,
yeah, I hear you, man. Sometime. I hear you. All right, so there it is. +638. Stützle, point, 2.5 over total goals. Ottawa, 60-minute money line, over 5.5. And just take out the over 2.5 and add in. Wait, did you take the 2.5? No. Yeah. Take out the 2.5 and add a Brady Tkachuk goal.
Yeah.
And that is Andre's parlay for the night. I don't like being on different sides, but hey, both can hit. Right?
Yeah. Work with each other. I just, have to get creative. A little bit more creative. I don't even know if that was more creative. That might have been a little bit lazier. But we're good.
So I got so excited that I ripped my cord out of my microphone. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So now that the game is out of the way, not out of the way, it's going to be fun. Only game in the NHL tonight, by the way. But don't worry, everybody. Tomorrow we have 14 games in the NHL to get to tomorrow. And our show will be much earlier than it started tonight. So pay attention to Solder on Pucks on Twitter. And I'll let you guys know when we're going to go down. But it's going to be much earlier in the day because there's 14 games to get to. And then I'm hanging out with Gabe and Joe and the boys at Curious Sports Pulse at 6:00, talking about my Eagles, I hope. Although Gabe might be cruel and just not bring it up at all, which would just kill me inside. But it's the only platform that I can talk extensively about football. So I hope he throws me a bone there. But yeah, man. So is there anything else in the NHL before we call it a day? We're going to wrap it up here in a minute. But is there anything else in the NHL from the weekend that caught your eye? Anything that you kind of wanted to touch on before we sign off for the evening?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's from the weekend per se as a much larger trend. But the Montreal Canadiens, they're losing it. They're losing it bad. 0-4-1 in their last 5. The loss to Anaheim that you touched on from yesterday, the third straight regulation loss. All the ground and goodwill they had made up in the standings quickly gone because the Eastern Conference is a mess. And just as quickly as they can, in theory, start stacking points again, get back on track. They are 6 points back with 1 game in hand, so it's not the end of the world. They're in a hole that was avoidable, especially when you look at some of the losses that they took. So we built them up when they were running hot. We do like this team. They're feisty. But beating Detroit would have helped a lot. Holding on or pulling through against Jersey,
yes,
would have been huge. You really can't afford to be losing to the Ducks in 2025. They're wasting some opportunities here, and now they're staring at
Yeah, I thought that 4-0 loss to the Wild on Thursday was a huge missed opportunity. The Wild on a back-to-back. I know Marc-Andre Fleury, big night for him, but the backup goaltender in net. The Canadians excuse me, can score goals. Patrick Laine 5-on-5 has just disappeared. Like, he just has to be on the power play to be productive, which is not a good thing. Ovechkin specialized in power play goals for years, but he was able to put up other goals, including a lot of empty netters, but we won't hold that against him. And that loss yesterday is just unacceptable. In a game which, by the way, just popped in memory, Patrick Laine was benched in. So that game yesterday, you're up 2-0 on the Ducks. I know you're on the road, but you got to win that hockey game. And so tomorrow, let me just remember this, because they're on their trip right now. They're in San Jose tomorrow, and you got to win that game. I mean, I think that the Sharks are beatable any night. Losing Granlund and Ceci isn't like all of a sudden they're never going to win again, but I think that obviously makes them a worse team. A first round and a 4th round draft pick can't play yet, so you're literally just removing 2 people from a lineup. You got to get that win tomorrow night. Have to. And since I was just looking at NHL.com, that reminds me, I told you this pre-show. I'm a Leafs fan and I'm a Stars writer, and both teams are on a West Coast road trip this week. Which is just not that I wouldn't stay up till 1 a.m. watching hockey anyway. But now it's just like both teams. I can't even watch one and then the other. I gotta although Saturday night the Stars play at 10:30 and the Leafs are in Vancouver, but they play at 7 because it's Toronto. And It's Toronto. What else do I need to say? It's our rules. I don't know if you heard Connor McDavid. They were asking him before the Leafs went to Edmonton on the weekend because the game was a 5:00 start in Alberta, and he was just saying, "Yeah, they come to our building, and we have to switch around. We have to switch around timing or whatever." It was pretty funny, but yeah. So yeah, I mean. I think on the opposite side of that, Andre, what stuck out to me so much was the wins by the other teams. Right now, the Islanders lost, but that win by the Rangers yesterday was so clutch. Like, no disrespect, but you're down 2-1 going into the third period. I thought for sure that game was over, and not only did the Rangers win, but they covered a -1.5 puck line if you were so bold as to bet it that way. So that was huge. The Blue Jackets game yesterday against the Stars, like they didn't win. They didn't even get a point, but I thought they really hung in that game. And now Marchenko's out for 6 to 8 weeks. And Monahan's still out. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Columbus moving forward. I don't think they're going to make a move to replace any of those guys, but I also don't think that they're going to sell. Like I feel all the sentiment that I get from the Columbus writers that I read, including the ones at thehockeywriters.com, but also just people I read, people I listen to, different insiders. It really feels like they're not going to trade anybody. Like they're going to give this team the best chance they can to make the playoffs without completely jeopardizing the future because of what this team has been through, because of what happened over the summer. It's just like, we're not going to take the rug out from under you guys' feet. Go and get in the playoffs. So that I can really expect. If that's true and they hold to that, I really respect that because at the end of the day, this is bigger than hockey. And I think that's a really cool move. The Red Wings win last night, 3-2, beating the Kraken. I thought that was, or beating the Canucks. I know it's the Canucks and I know all that, but you're still on the road, West Coast, and they got the job done. They were up 2-1 in that hockey game, deep halfway into the third period, coughed up the lead and found a way to get the job done. Hop over to the other conference, the Flames finding a way to get 2 points. I was just really impressed with some of the teams that really needed a win. The Bruins against your Rangers on Saturday. That was a huge win for them. We already talked about the Ottawa Senators beating the Wild 6-0 on Saturday. Just an absolute beatdown. The Islanders finding a way to beat the Lightning. The Penguins beating the Predators. And I guarantee you the Predators were favored in that game, although I don't know for certain. But I just thought, and again, the Red Wings beating the Flames. I just thought that there were so many teams, so many games of these bottom feeders that they needed wins and they got them. And I thought that was super impressive. And now, again, you look at the standings and it really does feel like in the West, like I know the Blues won yesterday and they're only 7 points out. But it really feels like Vancouver needs to keep winning because Calgary's adding pieces. They're continuing to play well. And if Vancouver doesn't start winning soon, the West could be locked up well before the deadline. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. There's one spot open in the West. We've maintained that for most of this season. And when one of the teams involved is a nightmare, I mean, let's call it what it's been. It makes it very difficult they're still in it to their credit, but they've done a lot of things to make life difficult for themselves. And I don't know, the fact that we still treat them as a team that should be there as the main characters, they're the subject, not Calgary. I think it speaks to the fact that we know there's better things ahead for them. At the same time, though, like you said, the Flames are putting on the pressure. The Flames are trying their best to hold on to what they got. The Flames have been money at home all year long. They're getting better on the road. They're reinforcing that roster. it could be a very good race, but Vancouver needs to very quickly get things together.
Yeah, 100%. And the East, it still remains interesting. It's starting to shrink a little bit, right? For the last few weeks, literally everybody was within like 3-4 points of this thing. But it's starting to shrink a little bit. Detroit, Columbus in the 2 wildcard spots, so 59 points. Tampa Bay, Boston, 58. Islanders, 55. Rangers, 54. Montreal, 53. Pittsburgh and Philly, 52. So where it was like a 4-5 gap, it is now between Pittsburgh and Philly. They're 7 points back. Montreal's 6 points back. Rangers. So it's starting to kind of separate a little bit. And we'll see. I feel like we'll see by the time Four Nations comes around. I think we'll kind of have the East dwindled down a little bit more. Just want to say, everybody, thank you so much for watching. And majority of you watching for the whole hour and 10 minutes. So shout out to you guys. We really appreciate that a lot. If you're watching on Pucks Across Borders YouTube, please like, subscribe, everything that every show tells you to do. And then jump over to Total Apex Sports on Twitter. Give them a like and a subscribe as well, and vice versa. If you're watching on Total Apex Sports, we appreciate you. Don't care where you watch. Just jump over to our YouTube page and give it a like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. Also, something I have not said at all today. This show is brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Promo code Sports Addict for 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off, and with the of limited cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, that means you can get up to 60% off selected cards using our promo code Sports Addict. So go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code Sports Addict for 10% off your order. Also, TotalApexSports.com. We appreciate them having us on board as the countdown to the Super Bowl. It's on. They got lots of great content, betting content, just general football content, lots of great stuff. Basketball, as you've heard, basketball is pretty crazy right now. They got you covered over there as well at TotalApexSports.com. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. 14 games tomorrow. We will see you then.